everybody. I'm Lisa Burwell, host of VIE Speaks, Conversations with Heart and Soul. And I am super excited to introduce you to this issue of VIE's cover guy, cover gent, cover artist, Nathan Alan Yoakum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, and I love your cover.
I am too. I love the cover too.
And all your art, it's just so amazing, and your story. I'm so glad that we met you, and we'll give a shout out to Todd Reeves at Modern Interiors,
Absolutely.
where your art. That's one of the places that your art is displayed and for sale. And you've known them for a long time, George and Todd.
I've known them for since 2000, probably 5 or 2006, maybe at the beginning of 2006.
And you've had your art there since.
And I've had my art there ever since. They've always been very supportive of my work. Todd and George are lovers of the art, and that's why they sell modern, furniture, which is art. I mean,
Right.
When I look at modern furniture in particular, I think of, sculptural,
Yes.
something that's meant to be sat on and, make you feel like home, but also a piece of art,
Yes. Well spoken, like the art and the artist that you are, which is the cut line on the cover too. And thank you. I mean, I can't even like wrap my head around the fact that you made that beautiful pink flower for us that is proudly hanging in the V office. And I can't thank you enough. It's so beautiful. It
I'm
makes me
glad you
happy
like
just
it.
looking at it. When I see it, it makes me so happy. And I think you said that one of the first days that I met you is you like doing that. You like making art
Yeah.
that's happy.
I like doing art that affects the room that it's in, and sometimes art can make us uncomfortable, which is okay. But sometimes art can make us joyful or sad or all these other emotions. And I think that's why I love doing the resin roses or the flowers, because they're not from anything literally per se, because they're kind of abstract, because I kind of make them up in my own mind.
So beautiful.
It's in the likeness of a flower, but it's its own unique version. So I did end up deciding the name for that one should be Ray of the Sun. And
That's the name of it?
yeah, that's the name
Did
of
I
it.
not know that? Oh my gosh, I must sear that in my brain. I will never forget that.
Yeah, I just think I just think it felt right to name the flower, name a flower like it's a new flower being named,
Love it. So meaningful.
Yeah.
So meaningful to me. Well, I think your work is unbelievable. I think
Thank you.
you as a person too, are an amazing person, and your story is rich and your journey is rich. And I want to tell the audience about it. That one of the main ethos of this podcast is that we get to tell people's story, but that we hope that they're inspired and they learn, and they're motivated and encouraged, to do whatever they're put on the earth to do. And I know you are a multi-talented guy. When did you know that you loved art? Like,
So I've been drawing and doing paintings since I was a child.
does not surprise me.
I was influenced to the arts at a young age. My dad is an architect, so we would go to museums and stuff. And so I had that appreciation of the arts. I liked that the arts brings the world together in a very unique language of itself. It doesn't have to always be political or religious. Sometimes it can just be beauty. And I love the fact that art changes our perception of life. It was my way of communicating with the world. At a young age, I had communicating. I didn't understand some things that other people understand, like sarcasm and other things. So, and I look back at that and some of my learning disabilities like dyslexia and stuff, seeing things in a different way. And so art, I used that to connect with people. And I knew that that was a strong connection and a language that I could use to meet friends. and to also just to love people. I
Right.
think art's a great way to love on people. Um, uh, so even when I was a child, I would kids in school to so they could understand me and I could understand them. I would draw something that I heard them talking about or that they liked and like
Mm.
give them out as gifts. And
Wow.
I think sharing the talent like that is is a very good language for me
To
to
connect. Yeah. Yeah.
connect with people,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's probably a real blessing that you didn't understand what sarcasm was because I've heard the definition of sarcasm before that was a form of anger. There's some there's
Mhm.
some there's some angst in like subtle anger in sarcasm.
Yeah, and I always knew that I didn't understand it until in my 30s when I got properly diagnosed with Asperger's, or what they call now as ASD.
Right.
And it all made sense to me,
Yeah.
and that was a relief because I always thought I was dyslexic, but I knew all these other things that were going on and that I just kept my mouth shut about,
Mhm.
and I kept it silent. And it really, uh, it was very hard at first because I had to come to grips with, now I know the answer and
Mm.
wow, I'm free by it.
Mm.
But I had some healing I still had to do after being diagnosed because, I had to forgive myself for
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
Um,
Why did you have to forgive yourself?
Well, because I think I beat myself up a lot as a young kid.
Yeah.
I think as
Yeah.
a child, I knew I wasn't perfect,
Mhm.
and also having a dad who's a architect. The architects are they're very performance, and they want perfection. And sometimes I knew I could never really be that, even though maybe my dad never even expected any of that
Mm.
from me. But in my own thoughts, I was always like, but art, when I really realized I was good at it and I loved it, I realized that it didn't have to be about all that stuff. It was just about something inside of me that was dwelling up like a river that wanted to flow out, and art is that river for me.
Mhm.
I just, want people to,
So beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Well, my husband's an architect, so I
I
know all
know.
about
Yeah.
perfection, and I don't know how
Yeah.
he gets me because I'm like the opposite of that. So I guess that's
We have
opposites
to
attract.
Yeah, and we have to have architects. I
We
mean,
do.
like,
We need
even,
them.
the girls in the office, I was asking 'em, they said that your husband did the layout and
Yeah.
everything. I said, "Oh, it's a perfect layout. It's very feng shui,"
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they have to they're organizers of social
Yes.
interactions, and I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I was an architect, I would
Yeah.
probably mine would be way off to the
Yeah.
side, hidden somewhere,
Well,
but yeah.
knowing that, my husband, architect Jerry Burwell, I heard from the team over there this morning. Walked in yesterday or something. I wasn't there, and he just stared at your resin flower array of
Yeah.
sunshine and said it was stunning and it was so beautiful. So this architect thinks that your art is pretty
Oh,
perfect.
well, I like his work too.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, you touched on your dad for a second, so I'm just going to ask you this one because, all right, one of my most favorite things about having this magazine, and I know it's going to sound like something small that people might not think is one of my absolute favorite things about having it, but it is true. It's honoring people and their stories and like giving them like that honor and respect in that platform because magazines have a lot of clout and credibility.
Yeah.
And putting someone on the cover of a magazine to me is like one of the highest forms of honor that you can, give somebody. So knowing that, okay, when we first started making the magazine 13 years ago, I knew we knew who was on the first cover. Robert Redford was on the second cover. ZZ Top was on the third
I saw
cover.
that. I'm a
It's
big
the crazy,
I
yeah.
love ZZ Top. I met them when I was 12 in
Oh,
an
you did?
elevator,
No.
and it was My dad was working with, like, Nidek Bobo, and I think they were
Really?
friends with, some of the architects or whatever, and he was on the elevator, and we were going up, and
Did they talk to you?
no, I looked
No?
over 'cause I didn't realize who they were at 12. I was into other
Yeah,
things,
yeah, yeah.
and, and I was like, "Was it Santa Claus or something?"
2 Santa
2
Clauses.
2 really cool Santa
Santa Claus,
Clauses,
yeah.
'cause
That's so
their
funny.
look, but of course, now that I know who they are, and I'm a big ZZ Top
Yeah.
person, I
Yeah, me
think
too,
they're
me too. That was
incredible.
super cool of them to
Yeah,
do that for us
yeah.
on the just on the 3rd cover, but the 4th cover was my mom. A photo taken of my mom when she was in Ireland when she was 15 or
Oh,
16,
wow.
and we had a Mother's Day issue then. And so it was so meaningful to me and to her just to have the gift to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, circling back to you. So, what did your parents think? Because I always ask people when they're on the cover, I go, "What did your mom think? What did you?" Because I know what that feels like.
My mom was very proud, and, she means a lot to me.
Awesome.
She's a very kind woman.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really sweet of you.
She's always been a very loving person. She's never judgmental.
Uh-huh.
Um, she says what's on her mind, and I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So awesome.
My dad loved the cover too. He's an architect, so he loves modern art.
Yeah.
So he's a big supporter of my art. And they both like my mom though. It was a son's. You look for your mom's like because she accepts you regardless.
Yes. The
Um,
mother's love.
and she knows some of my struggles the most because
Mhm.
mothers they're with you a lot
Mhm.
more.
Mhm.
So for her, I'm sure it bring a lot of joy to her. And even my mentor Jay Etkin, he loves it. And I love him. He's like my art dad.
Mhm.
And he's helped guide me through this crazy journey.
Which
You
has been for
know.
how long did you meet him on this journey that
I met Jay when I was 17,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and he he does not hold back.
Mhm.
Jay Etkin, if he likes your art, he likes your art. If he doesn't like it, he does not like it.
Mhm.
If you go into his gallery and you wonder why he won't hang something,
He doesn't like
it's
it.
his nice way of saying that
Yeah.
he doesn't like it.
Right.
And he is a very beautiful soul in himself. He contributes a lot to the arts, and he's a big collector of African art. He loves
Mm.
African art. We talk about this all the time. How African art is such a, you know, uh, it was such an influence on the greats. Like Picasso. Picasso's paintings were, the women and their geometrical faces. Those were all inspired by, you know. Indian
Yes.
garbs,
Yes.
and their masks that they wear and these, you know, theater,
Mhm. Right.
they were doing
Right.
theater,
Right.
and even when we took a trip to Jordan, inside of Jordan where Petra is, they had a amphitheater.
Yeah.
I mean, think, they were, people were trying to entertain each other since the beginning, and
Exactly.
I think music and plays and entertainment and all that influences the world we live in and the art we make.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. I would say, and I asked this to Todd, selling modern furniture as he does, I personally did not sort of fall in love with modern art until about 5, 6 years ago. And, I was kind of late to the party,
yeah,
but I have such an appreciation for it now and an understanding and a love and respect for it because it's just so clean and ordered and precise.
and very chaotic sometimes.
And okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
haven't I haven't
yeah,
met the chaotic side of that yet, but, those are the other attributes that I would
yeah,
ascribe to it.
yeah,
So, knowing in my own personal walk
yeah,
that, like, I was late to the table on,
yeah,
like, appreciation for it, and I think other people, like, more mainstream, I think, some modernity has become a little bit more mainstream, like, in the
yeah.
last decade or so. Because of that, do you sell more art now? Because it's not just, like, relegated to, like, the intellectual artsy sect, and it's more a little bit more mainstream than it used to be before.
Yeah, it is. I know there's a lot of decorative, I would call decorative art, and there's different forms of art. But as far as art, like art, where people are really pouring their passion into the piece that they're doing. It's not, art can be. You can mess yourself up if you start thinking, well, I'm just doing a painting for this person's couch to
Yeah.
match the couch. That's
Right.
not really art. This is decorative art. And
Exactly.
art should influence the room, the people, and sometimes the furniture, and I think, but I think they all influence each other at the same way because you have interior design, influences art too.
Fashion.
Fashion.
Big time.
And
Yeah.
fashion, big time.
Yeah.
The curvature of some sunglasses with a woman wearing a black dress or something can make someone like me look at that and go, I'm going to do some abstract painting. It doesn't even look anything like her, but it's carrying on this energy, this with a wavelength.
Yeah. So when you started the journey when you were 19 and you met your mentor, so did he immediately put your art in his gallery?
No, he did
Okay.
not. It was years later.
Okay.
So
But along the road before you got to hang on the wall there, he
yeah.
did teach you.
Yeah, and it's a big thing. He's always influenced me to push myself. He's never been one to say you need to just stay on this one style, because real artists, if you really look at the Rauschenbergs, the Andy Warhols, or they always were progressing, and they were always doing something different than they, were doing at the beginning,
Uh-huh.
and so I think Jay really had a lot of influence on me in that perspective, and he was obviously influenced by his mentor, Philip Pearlstein. And I had struggles because of my issues. So college was not ideal for me. I tried and I couldn't do it. Even high school was hard. I excelled in art, but I did really poorly in other things. But Jay gave me an opportunity to be an artist, and I love him for that because, I got my education through him in different ways, and just being in the gallery with him and helping run the gallery, sometimes you can learn a lot from someone who's been doing it that long, because he's in his 70s and he's an amazing human being, and if you don't listen to like your elders, the small things they tell you, you're not listening, because those are the words of wisdom that you're not getting, and a lot of artists nowadays, they want that. They want to be famous right then and there, and they'll come, and I've seen them, and they come in the gallery, and but we've seen this stuff before. You're actually,
You're actually passe.
and there are artists who we just do it because we're an artist, and then there's people that decide one day they want to be an artist, and Jay was very good about handling those particular artists, because at the same time, you don't know, they could be really good and they need nurturing. I know Van Gogh didn't realize he was who he was until he was in his later years, and or Harrison Ford doing Star Wars,
Right.
like he's 35 and he's like the best. I mean, I love his acting.
Right,
It's
right.
hilarious,
Yeah, right.
this very dry,
Yes.
like if a plane was going down, and you see Harrison Ford driving the plane, and somehow, and you look over, you'd be like, oh, okay, we're good. Like, somebody's got control of the situation. Right. So, but yeah, I'm getting off track. But he's an influence. He's an influencer. He influences a community of people and artists, and he's very good at it.
In Memphis.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
very in Memphis.
So, you lived here, then you went back to Memphis, and then you came back here fairly recently.
Yeah, okay. Memphis. So Memphis is not good for people that are, I would say on the spectrum, it's harder for us because there's so many distractions and noises and ambulances and all. They have a lot of problems there that they don't want to really address. And I think for some, city life is good and people love the hustle and bustle of the city, but I don't. It's hard to make art when you're in a state of in that mindset. There's things that I loved about it. I loved the music and the culture, and I don't do really well at big concerts and stuff, but I do love music. So
Right.
eventually I'll go to one. But
Mhm.
um but it's a very influential
Yes.
part of my life because I love BB King and Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash, or some of the songs that were written by David Porter, and he's there now too, and he's got a studio there. And but for me, the city life is not for me.
Right,
It's for
right,
some people,
right.
and I loved the culture. I just don't like the city life. I prefer the beach. Honestly, I prefer to be on a surfboard and in the quiet place. You
It's a good
know,
place. Who wouldn't
yeah.
wanna do that, really, right? I
And
mean, that's kind of idyllic.
yeah.
So you know what fascinates me? I mean, everything fascinates me about you, but the stint that you did in, television and radio and your movie that you just did a couple years ago, tell us about how you did
Yes.
that.
So that came about. I wanted to just to see if I had any acting in me, and I started doing acting classes with uh, in a group in Memphis, and I was devoted. So then I started doing that, and then I did like the Sun Records show that was out in Memphis, and it was about Elvis and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis and all those guys, and I love those
Yeah, I
guys,
know, that's cool.
and I think BB King's in it, and, uh, of course, but that influenced me anyway, and I wanted to be a part of that, and it was like time travel.
Mhm.
And, like, I just loved it because it was like experiencing that period of time, that gritty time, and understanding all those facets,
That's awesome.
of all that stuff that went on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Martin Luther King and
Mm.
JFK and all this stuff and all that confusion came out of all that. A lot of beauty, a lot of artists and painters and musicians and writers, and being on set, like doing I was the what do they call what do they
On
call it?
camera, behind camera?
No, no, on camera, but uh why can't I?
Stand-in?
Yeah, not stand in. Um, anyway, um, so not the main actors, the set,
Cast?
yeah, just being part of that, and it got to where the producer was like, "You're really good at this." And Michael Lane, one of the main actors, and I'm friends with him on Instagram still. He's great. He pulled me aside one day and he was like, "You're really good. You should pursue this."
Cool.
And I did for a little while. And I did the movie that's on Amazon, The Game. And I played a really bad guy, because it was to raise awareness of child sexual slavery, and I had to play the bad guy, and that was kind of hard for me because I don't,
I bet.
that's you have to be somebody you're not. You
Right,
don't. I mean, you got to be the bad guy,
right, right.
and so that was different for me,
I bet.
for me,
I'm
but
gonna
it
watch it. I'm gonna watch it, check it out, though. I mean, and
yeah.
that is, like, such a, unbelievable. I can't even understand that that happens, and, I mean, we have a big problem with that. So it was good that you did that. You said you did it because you wanted to, make a aware what was going on. That's
I
horrible.
I felt passionate about it, so I was like, "I'm gonna do this," and it was my time to do that, and I think I think you gotta do those things when you're an artist that you feel passionate about, and that was one thing I really felt passionate about, and I knew it's for a good purpose,
Right.
Because we need to
To
be more.
eradicate this insanity.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I
Oh,
would that would be awesome if we could just get it out of this world,
yeah, I know.
There's really no place for that.
No.
Um, but it was a good experience, and I did some other commercials and stuff, and I had fun, w and I but I'm an artist,
Yeah, you got it out of your system, you tried it,
Yeah,
you're
I
yeah.
tried it, I got
Yeah,
it
that's
out of the
alright.
system. I'm an artist,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, I
good.
think it's fun, and if I was asked to do something again, if I thought it was very artistic and it had value, I would probably say, yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So, where can people buy your art? Like, tell all the places that it's for sale.
So they can go to Modern Interiors here,
In Miramar Beach.
in Miramar Beach, and talk to Todd and George. Those guys are good. And then they can go, if you're in Memphis, you can go to the Etkin Gallery. And then if you're near Atlanta, you can go to the Chic Evolution and Art Gallery. And Ivan Patoni, he owns that and he runs that. He's a really good guy too. He's got an interesting story himself.
Really?
Um, so I also want to give a shout out to my good friend Jason Miller in Memphis. He is an awesome photographer. His Instagram is like Soul Recorder, but he did the picture
Yes,
for the
he's
cover.
amazing. And that photo
Um,
of you that he took is amazing.
yeah, he's very good at just
Capturing.
capturing those moments. So yeah, definitely give a
He
shout out to
captured a lot of
Jason.
Memphis cool in you in that
He
picture. I tell you
d
that.
he did the shoes and everything,
I
the shoes and
know. It
everything,
was
I
flawless.
got those shoes at Lansky's
Oh,
downtown.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
they're cool. I hope. Do you
yeah.
still have them?
Yeah, I
You got to
still
put
got
those
them.
on
Yeah.
again soon because they look good. Cool. So, when did you start with your evolution? When you're saying that artists have an evolution, so you had to go through, I'm sure, several iterations, and I
Yeah,
see
oh,
where you are
yeah.
now. But like, where did you start? Like, what was the medium? What was the
Oh.
subject matter at the beginning?
Well, I used to do very dark paintings,
Okay, I can't. All right, from where
and
you are now.
sculptures,
Okay.
in high school. Now, elementary school, stuff like that, I was dinosaurs and all that, and then, you get in high school and you start to get affected. You realize that you may not be part of the clique,
Yeah.
and when you're not part of the clique, sometimes, you get isolated sometimes, and
Angry,
yeah,
defeated.
angry
Yeah.
parents have issues at home. Obviously they're going through
Right.
their divorce and some other things that affected me,
Yeah.
and I wasn't getting. Um, I don't think I was getting the education I needed, and
Mhm.
um, but
Yeah, I mean, so it started out with that, which is
but
normal.
it started
Teenage
out, yeah.
angst.
So they were very dark.
Yeah.
Um, and even some of them, and the sculptures that I did, like in welding class, because I had shop class. I was
Uh-huh.
very good at shop class and welding, and my teacher was like, "You can just make art." And I probably shouldn't say this, but he was like, "I'll just give you A's because you're so good."
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because he would
Okay.
teach me how to weld, and I guess that was part of
Yeah.
the curriculum.
Right.
So I used that time to make sculptures out of steel.
Wow.
Um,
Wow, that's crazy.
they were quite interesting. They were very dark. I was in
Okay.
a dark pla I'm not
Yeah.
in a dark place
Yeah, well, that's good.
anymore.
So you've blossomed
Yeah.
like a flower.
Yeah, so and then the school put on a, first art show they've ever done for someone, and I got to show all my work throughout the year. It was very cool.
That's so interesting, Nathan. I always find it fascinating to know where people began because I always say to myself, don't despise small beginnings. It's a
Yeah.
biblical quote, but it's also like true. And so it resonates everywhere. And that you have to begin and you have to start, and then you have to work out the journey of like honing your craft or perfecting a skill. And, sometimes, and I know like maybe people wouldn't think this happens to me, but there have been several times in my career where I'm like, I'm not where I want to be. I don't think it's where I was supposed to be yet. Um, and like, then I look back, and sometimes I just like look back at like all the magazines on the wall. And I'm like, wow, like, how did that happen? Like, that's a lot. It's a
Yeah,
long walk. So,
it's a
t
big journey.
yeah, talk about, like, so you've given us, where you were at the beginning and now, like, a whole journey, but where your art is now.
So, I think art is always influenced by the surroundings it lives in, or where it is. But it's also inspired by other things. But right now, where I'm at is I'm doing my flowers, and
Which are beautiful.
yeah, because I mean I want to change the atmosphere in whatever place that they're gonna hang, and flowers they're about life, they're about death, creation, and they can mean so much more than just a flower, to people.
Mhm.
And I'm still doing my pop art, and I'm back to doing some abstract paintings again, which is good. And I don't try to stick with those mediums. I just try to perfect all the mediums that I work with, and that's important. And and all the art I do, whether it's a painting or a sculpture, you know, um, there's a journey with each work, to working that journey out. Because sometimes paintings, I've had paintings that I've held myself, and I did it to a point, and then a year later, I revisited it and finished it.
Mhm.
So sometimes those things happen.
Right.
Sometimes those are the best paintings.
Right. Can you describe, because we're gonna show this on, the video too of the flower that you graciously gifted us, the process, like.
Oh, okay. So the process. I don't want to reveal too
Okay,
much of the
okay.
pro. I will
Only a
talk
little
about the
bit.
process.
Okay. Well, like, can you say it's
Yeah.
like
So
origami?
so it is like origami with resin, but the resin is all timed, and I know when it's ready to be manipulated because it takes about an hour and a half for it to really start setting up and curing, and so I have that window to start manipulating pieces, and so when I build the flowers, I start from the center, and make that center, the swirl
Mhm.
that exists in all nature, the spiral. There's been drawings of that spiral and exists in all nature, so it needs to have that flow. And then when I'm doing the pieces, they all become their own little unique sculpture that makes the bigger one. And so each piece I'll sand, um, glue with the resin, and make sure they all look the same. And then I'll come back the next day or two after that, and then work another outer layer, and then another outer layer. And at the end, I'll do last looks where I'll sand everything one more time. Um,
So intense.
and yeah, it's kind of like it's model making, it's engineering, and it's also making a beautiful piece. And I want it to look like too that if a somebody who's a drawer or a painter, if they wanted to come in and actually paint it as a paint, something like that,
Mhm.
because it's physical, so you can, because it's a sculptural
Mhm.
thing.
Dimensional.
Yeah, dimensional,
Yeah. And did you say yesterday when you came in and gave it to us that, like, you had over 20 hours into just creating it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably about that, maybe a
Thank you.
little over, yeah.
Thank you so
It's a
much.
it's
I
a labor
know,
of
and I love
love,
it, and I'm
yeah,
so
yeah,
thankful to you for that. That was
yeah. I mean,
amazing
it's a
of you.
unique, and those are the colors I chose because I like to get the energy of the person that I'm doing it for, and I try to get that out in the flower.
Yeah.
Whether the flower has wavy features to it or there's some areas where it's got a lot going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're a lot alike,
Yeah.
we're like that.
Yeah.
We're like,
Yes.
we're like trees in a way, or a plant. You look at one tree and that tree may be beautiful,
Right.
and then the other tree it needs watering,
Right. Yeah.
like I think,
It needs
yeah.
help.
Yeah, it needs some
Yeah.
help,
Oh,
but
man.
it could still be a beautiful tree. It just
Right.
needs a little help,
Right. Right. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Anything else that you wanna tell our listeners about you, your
Oh,
art, your life, mantra?
if you have uh, if you have disabilities, they're not disabilities. You may think
Hear,
they are
hear.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's hard sometimes, and it's not easy to chase your dreams and to do what you love. But if you love doing it, keep doing it. And, you know, If it's your passion, you won't stop doing it, no matter what anybody tells you, whether good, bad,
Right.
or negative. You just chase after what you want in life, and you be that change too, and you do whatever your giftings are. Stick to your true giftings. Be the authentic you when you're chasing after those dreams. Art is not an easy field to be in. It is a lot of competition, but don't get wrapped up into that. You just make your beautiful art,
Mhm.
and do it to the best of your ability.
Awesome. Well, I don't see any disability. I just see like a super awesome, cool guy sitting before me
Yeah.
that's a beautiful artist. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, everyone, so thankful to you all for watching or listening to V Speaks Stories with Heart and Soul, Conversations with Heart and Soul. This is a sister to our V Magazine. So, we hope that you visit V Magazine and read all about Nathan Yoakum in this issue out right now. Check it out. Thank you.
Thank you.